Good morning and welcome to the Sabi Sands. It's a cloudy morning here in the low veldt of South Africa, but it's a beautiful day and nice and cool. So, what a day it was yesterday, and we're trying our best to reenact what happened. And for those of you who weren't following yesterday, we managed to see a cheetah in the morning and in the afternoon, and it's the first cheetah we've seen in 5 months of filming. So myself and VM got up a little bit earlier than normal this morning, and we've been out since it was completely dark looking for this cheetah. He wasn't where we left him lying up as it got dark last night, and funnily enough, as we were looking in that area, hyena came up and sniffed around where the cheetah had been, and it could well have been that other hyena had come and possibly chased the cheetah off in the night, or who knows, maybe the cheetah just decided to get up early and start moving. They're typically daytime animals, but are known to move in the darkness. So thankfully though, we managed to some of his tracks, so we've got an idea of which direction he's heading in, but it was very difficult to track slowly, track for track, when it's dark, and I was surprised we even managed to find his tracks in the dark. So at least we've got an idea of the general direction he's moving in, and that is the area we are now searching in. So we've played a game of leapfrog. We're hoping that we're going to have looped ahead of where he is already and somehow bump into him. We haven't seen much else other than the one hyena that was sniffing around where the cheetah was sleeping yesterday. And who knows what else we could bump into. That's the great thing, even though we're looking for a cheetah, we could come around any corner and find a multitude of different other interesting animals. I'm not sure if this cloudy weather is going to bring any rain. If it does, it'll be gentle rain, I think, nothing too serious. And it would certainly be great for the vegetation and therefore the herbivores of this area if we do get a bit more rain, because it's already abnormally dry for this time of the year. We didn't get as much rain as we usually do in this area. Just got a question through from Nikki in the final control, and Nikki's suggesting that if he was asleep last night, even if he was potentially chased off, he wouldn't move that far. It's hard to say. I've spent so little time following cheetah, as most of the wilderness areas I've worked in have had very few, so I wouldn't say I have an intimate knowledge of their ongoings, but I'm inclined to think that if it did move off, I mean, we found its tracks probably a quarter of a mile from where it was sleeping, and who knows how many more quarter miles it moved before it is wherever it is now. But the strip that we're checking is quite a good one because it's fairly open, and I'm hoping that if the cheetah did get onto the strip of fairly open vegetation to our right, it would be inclined to stick to it and follow it. So that is what we're going to do. We're just going to drive slowly along the slightly more open area. interesting fact about the cheetah that we were viewing yesterday, and the same one we're looking for this morning, is that on the 14th of March, it appears that the very same cheetah was seen in the far southern reaches of the Sabi Sands Reserve. So probably about 30 kilometers, which is around 20 miles to the south of us. So that gives you an idea of the distance that it moved just to get to where it was. And now its tracks this morning were heading in the opposite direction of where it was coming from, so further away. I'm just going to jump out here and check for tracks. It sadly doesn't appear that any tracks come out here, but I will mention that it's very difficult to see tracks at this time of the morning, and that combined with the fact that it's overcast makes it very difficult to see tracks, because ideally the sun would be rising and casting a shadow on the tracks from a side angle. As soon as it's overcast or the sun's directly above tracks, it doesn't cast a good shadow on the track and makes it very difficult to see them. So as much as it's great to have the cool weather from this cloud cover, it doesn't help with tracking. Mark, come in. Just wondering where you're checking, Mark. Okay, copy. Go again, Nikki. Just got a question through from Maggie in Vancouver. Good morning, Maggie, and welcome along. Maggie's interested to know which is a good time of year to come on safari to see a wide variety of different animals. And before I answer the question any further, at any stage of the year that you come, luck will determine how much you see in any given area. It really does just depend on the few days that you're in any given area. But basically summer is very hot, there's a lot of insects around, and the vegetation is very thick and green. So those are some of the negatives, and thick green vegetation is pretty but difficult to see into, and therefore it's a little bit more difficult to find animals. There's also a chance of rain that can interfere with the safari, but all the youngsters are born in summer, so you get all the new babies running around and birds nesting, so there's a lot of life around. All the migratory birds are in the area that come from far and wide. So those are the benefits and kind of negatives to summer. Winter's drier, less chance of rain. I prefer the the brown coloration, personally, as opposed to the bright green. Less insects in winter. So there's pros and cons to each season, but a lot will depend on luck of your 3 or 4 nights, which is the typical stay here in the Saudi Sands. Winter, it's not, I wouldn't say it's freezing, but it can be a bit cooler in the mornings, whereas summer can be extremely hot and humid. So a lot depends on an individual's preferences in terms of temperatures, whether they can tolerate insects or not, which is another factor about summer relative to winter. So now I'm driving other roads, not the actual road that we last saw the cheetah's tracks on, because there's a strong chance that it would have veered off the road. And what I plan to do is head back to the last tracks that we had and then start following from behind. We've tried looping ahead, it hasn't worked, and now our next best option, I feel, is to go back to the last tracks and try and determine where he may have headed from there. There's apparently a bit of banter on Twitter asking why my headlights were still on, and that's because myself and VM were driving around since when it was completely dark. You may have noticed a kudu just ran off there. Sadly didn't want to hang around. There may be more around though. So basically I'd just forgotten that I had my headlights on, but it does certainly make seeing tracks easier. When the sun is not up, we have to use artificial light to help us, and that is why I did have my headlights on. So I wonder, there's one lone kudu here, female, but she could well be trailing the rest of a herd. They usually travel in small herds. Oh, there they go. We've just got a question through from Scott in Ohio. Good morning, Scott, and welcome on board. There's a few more that are going to be coming up there, Viam, that were further behind. And Scott's interested to know whether cheetah are territorial. And they certainly are. Males will compete between males for territories, and females will compete between females for territory, just like lions and leopards do. And then once you do get to understand the spots where it does like to urinate and defecate, when you do have tracks of the animal, you can go and check those areas to see if it's already passed through there, and if not, it can help you to deduce where the animal is. The distance that this male has covered, though, from the southern Sabi Sands to here is very, very large, and I think he's shopping around for some real estate where he plans to eventually settle down one day. But, like I said, almost too large for him to be considering as his own territory. Well, that was a beautiful sighting of those kudu walking down the road towards us. They would certainly fall into the prey bracket of that male cheetah. I have, even here in the Sabi Sands, seen a cheetah with a adult female kudu kill. And an adult female kudu is a very big antelope, so quite impressive that a cheetah, which is quite slender and robust, slender and not very robust, can take a kudu down. But you may find if it did come across this herd of kudu, it may target the smaller specimens. Okay, I'm just going to check for a few more tracks along this road, because the cheetah could well have veered off course. No sign of it coming up this way. You may notice how I walked a fair stretch down the road, and the reason why I did that is because even if I had been walking along this road, there's certain areas of the road where it would have been easier to see its track if it stood there. So it's important to check a fair distance. Oh, good morning, youngster. He's already got his breakfast on the go, and you can see he's chewing on a branch, and if he does continue to feed on it, you may notice that all he's aiming to do is strip the bark off that little branch in his mouth. But he might come and say good morning to us first. Good morning, youngster. Just wanted to give him some time to go past, and the vegetation's very thick here and he doesn't look like he's going to be hanging around. So we'll leave him to it and continue on our quest to try and track down this cheetah. Well, while myself and VM continue the search, let's cut over to Mark and see how his morning's going so far. We'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Good morning and welcome to Wendy. Welcome to another patch of Djuma Game Reserve this morning, and a cool, overcast, grey Sunday morning. Kind of Sunday morning you want to stay in bed and read a book. Or you want to be out here in Africa looking for tracks. I see some zebra tracks on the road. My name is Mark. Jason with me on camera.
Morning.
Morning. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. Haven't seen you for a while.
I know, it's long. Way too long.
And, well, we have been up to Impala Plains. I'm now going to go around towards Twin Dams. I want to see if we can find any tracks from a monster leopard. Oh, here's some tracks from a smaller leopard going into Djuma. Maybe we'll just, well, now what do? I know this one's father was on that road, and now that this one's been on this road, I guess we better have a look-see, don't we? Up towards Treehouse Dam, maybe. We'll do a loop. I don't know what we'll do first. Down to Twin Dams first. White Bear Lake in Minnesota. Hello Kelly, nice to hear from you this morning, all the way from the Midwest. White Bear Lake sounds pretty awesome. Do all antelope herds have a matriarchal system with a matriarch and a leader? Yes, well, Kelly's saying like elephants. Not quite like elephants, but sort of like elephants. I guess we can consider most antelope species male-dominated societies or male-oriented societies, in that there's a dominant ram or bull who will hold court over a bunch of females, but within that female group there is going to be a hierarchy of older females who know what to do with the herd when they need to. Kwanzaa for Young Madoringwe coming up on Weaver's Nest heading north. I'm going to come back to it after Twin Dams. I wonder where he came in. There's another snake truck. Morning, Grace. Grace wants to know if we can show tracks on the ground. We normally can, Grace. In fact, on a normal morning when the sun is shining, we get a much better contrast, because to see a track nicely you need to look into the track to see where the shadow is falling into the track. If I find a track that's distinct enough, maybe in soft sand, we might be able to get it, but at the moment what we call flat light. There are no shadows, so it's very difficult to actually pick up the tracks with eyes, so it's not so easy to be able to get the camera angle right. Especially since the camera sits quite high, and in this light you really need to be fairly low to get a better idea of tracks. But stay with us over the months, or rather the days and weeks to come. It'll be sunny again. There's a nyala crossing the road way up on the furthest ridge. We might be able to find some tracks in some soft sand. Of course, if there was mud, we might see them easy. Expecting to find the Bula's tracks around here somewhere, because he was heading south last night just after we closed. 10 seconds after I said goodnight last night, when the owl flew away, I switched on the lights and started driving. I didn't get more than 10 yards and there he was coming down the road towards us, so we hurriedly switched on again. It took a couple of minutes for the machines to get going. They thought that they were finished for the day. Okay, copy that. That's normal for here. So far, I don't see anything here. Elephant tracks. It was irresistible to suddenly go back again. So open up and have a leopard. It's a good night gift after an owl. The owl and the pussycat. Everything pea green in some of the leaves. And pea green sea of leaves. I don't see any tracks of this cat. He was approaching this drainage line. Wondering if he didn't catch something. Morning, Sarah. What time of the day is my best time for tracking? And is there a time of day that's better for tracking? Sarah, indeed, there is a best time of day. But I suppose the overall best time of day is the morning, because things are moved around at night, and to be out first thing at first light is the best time, because we get to see the tracks of animals that have moved after the vehicles have been around. I mean, in these circumstances. Well, that's weird, because No tracks here. He might have dropped down into the riverbed. He was looking towards the riverbed when we left him. It's one of the reasons why it was just a brief glimpse of him, because I didn't want to disturb him if he was going to be hunting. Just leave it, and then hopefully he might have found something. Let's have a look. He might have gone down into this riverbed over here on Mumba Road. The best time of day to see tracks is early morning and late afternoon. You need very low, you need the sun to be pretty low, because you need an angle of light coming in from the side. The worst time of day to track, which makes it very similar to now without sunlight, is midday, when you've got the light straight up ahead. Makes the ground pretty thick. It doesn't make shadows. You see, as small as tracks are, in the softest or even in the hardest of sands, if the light is low enough, there is going to be a shadow in the track. I suppose you can almost make it out in the sand, because there's very, very soft sand in front of us. You can almost make out shadows in the tracks. Those are elephant tracks that you can see. And because most of the light is at the back there, behind us, we can see it. So you've always got to look into the light when you're looking at a track, so that you can see where the shadow is falling into the track. Now if the sun was shining, we are facing east, if the sun was shining we would have a much better definition. Just going to have a look and see if I can find, oh, I don't even need to go far. Here are his tracks. But squirrels are going crazy not far from us. But here his tracks heading east up Mumba Road. I don't have to go anywhere. Hello, Chris in Australia, saying we seem to have seen Mvula quite a bit lately, hanging around quite a bit. Is he hanging around to get rid of the boys? Chris, it's an interesting question, and the only way I can answer, well, I can't answer that question. I'm afraid nobody could possibly know what his intentions are, other than, well, the fact that he is here and it is his territory. That's all we can really tell at the moment. But there's absolutely no way of knowing what the leopard's intentions are. See, now there are no tracks here, so he probably is the cause of the consternation amongst us. Causing a little bit of trouble from squirrels further south of us. Anyway, it sounds like Scott's got some birds that want to, so if we can do a crossover to Scott, really some of the amazing eagles that I really love. So
Well, still no luck with the cheetah search, but what we have found are two absolutely wonderful birds of prey. They're called African hawk eagles, and they often hunt in pairs, cooperatively, and live in pairs. They are monogamous, so this will be a husband and wife. And I've only seen them very seldomly here in the Sabi Sands, and this is an absolutely great visual of them. still a bit early for them to start hunting, but how they do hunt cooperatively is one will often fly low and flush game birds like francolin and guinea fowl, while the other bird of prey, the other partner, will remain higher up waiting to bomb dive from high up in the air. And there they go. Good work on the camera there, Viam. I copied that update. I'm on WildEarthTV dam wall. I'll head into that area to help follow up. Just got an update from Lex, who's a private guide guiding some of his guests here at Djuma, and he's currently at the hyena den site, but he said he's heard some impala alarm calling around Philemon's Dip area, which is not far from where we are. So we're gonna hustle over there, because the sooner we get there, the sooner we can hopefully get to see what the impala are alarm calling at. And Lex did mention that they were alarm calling very persistently, and impala will alarm more insistently or persistently if there's increased danger, or even more so if one of the impala have been caught. So he seems to think it's some serious alarm calls and definitely worth responding to. Got a question through from Dara in Ohio. Good morning, Dara, and welcome on board. Dara is interested to know what the largest prey cheetah can take down, and it depends. A single cheetah will probably be limited to prey around the size of an impala, maybe an adult female kudu there and thereabouts. But I have seen footage and photographs of coalitions of cheetah, male cheetah, maybe 2 or 3 of them, that will hunt prey as large as wildebeest. But a lot will depend on the individual and the area in which they are living, and some may have to adapt to hunt slightly bigger prey if that's all that's on offer in certain areas. And it is incredible how predators can adapt in the different areas that they live in. Just freewheeling now, so have the engine off so that it increases our chance of hearing any alarm calls as we get into this area. Looks like some leopard tracks here. It is indeed tracks of a female, but they are going up the road where we've just come from. The impala alarm calling just ahead of us still. It could be the same animal that they are alarming at. Tracks of Mafazi Ingwe heading up Philemon's dip towards Quarantine. Just going to check out the Impala alarming here a bit further south of the tracks and then continue following. So, always a bit tricky heading in the opposite direction to tracks, but I can still hear the Impala alarm calling just ahead here. So let's try and get an idea of what exactly it is they are alarming at. Well, okay, up to our left, yeah. Here it is. Lex, thank you very much for that update. We have located a leopard here. Oh, the leopard's chasing his Impala. It's got no chance though. But it is going to make for some interesting viewing. Where has it gone? It's in no way it's going to be able to catch one now that they know where it is, but I'm just going to try and get into position to see its behavior and make sure we don't lose it. Because it may at some point now decide to run off after it realizes it's been made a fool of. Where has it gone? Can you believe it? It seems like it's further down this way. There's more Impala. There's a lot of Impala in this area. And I can hear more alarm calls coming from down here, so he may have continued down this way. I hope we don't lose him now after having just found him. I've just got a glimpse of him. Oh no. See, the tricky thing is for us now is that a lot of these Impala will be alarm calling simply because they can hear the others alarm calling and they're just jumping on the bandwagon. So it's not necessarily because it's close to them or that they can see them. Good morning. For a moment there, I thought we had completely lost him. Now, it was important for me to drive off and try and keep an eye on him, otherwise I knew we would lose him. And I was also 99% sure that us driving into the bush would have no impact on his already failed attempt at hunting. The fact that he did run after them after they had already been alarming for minutes before we got here is testament to him being a youngster. And most adult leopards, as soon as an alarm call is let off, they will no longer try and hunt their prey, because they know without the elements of surprise and without that element of ambush, they've got little or no chance of catching any prey. He is going to continue trying though, as like I say, there's a lot of impala in this area. And who knows, he could get lucky, but now that the word is out, the odds are stacked heavily against you. Quarantine, and this is quarantine male. This windy weather does help him. There's a slight breeze. And it does mean there's a small chance that his approach would be muffled. But again, I cannot emphasize enough that lion and leopard rely on the elements of surprise, and without it, they will battle to take down their prey. Cheetah and wild dog are slightly different because of the incredible speeds that they can move at, and that's for cheetah, and for wild dog the endurance and stamina that they have, that they can run down their prey, and therefore rely less on an ambush than lion and leopard will. Great that there's tracks of a female leopard in this area, and it could very well be that it was his mother, Karula. And you may have remembered I stopped and said there was tracks of a female leopard not far from where we found him, so who knows, potentially they bumped into one another last night and she left him here and continued on her way. Now there's a hyena that's come to investigate. Straight ahead of us there, Viam. It is quite thick. But understandably, a hyena will, you'll see it moving its, well done. Excuse me. Hyena will come and investigate. Because the impala have been alarm calling for so long and there's another hyena joining, the hyena will assume that a kill has been made. As I said on the way here, impala will alarm call for prolonged periods of time and with increased intensity if a kill is made. And because of this leopard's behavior, and instead of getting out of the area, as most adult leopards would do as soon as an alarm call's let off, he stayed in the area and therefore caused a false sense of alarm calls, and that it appears that to these hyena that a kill will be here, judging by the amount the impala have been alarming. Now the wind is blowing very slowly, very slightly towards the hyena, and I think there's a third hyena on the scene now, and they are in all likelihood going to be able to smell this leopard and come all the way up to it, and then we're going to see some interesting interaction. So let's see how powerful these hyenas' sense of smell is. I think they're going to find him, even though he hasn't walked at all in that area where they are. They may loop around and find his scent trail from behind us, or they may in fact just be able to pick up the breeze that's blowing slightly in their favor. hyenas are doing some pasting there, and that is how they mark their territories. They will wipe their anus on pieces of grass and or sticks to leave their scent trail. And it appears that they have not picked up the scent of the leopard yet. But we're not going to go anywhere. And I feel that they're going to loop around this area until they find his scent, and then that will lead them all the way to him. Let's wait and see. Oh, the leopards already decided to just start slinking off as the hyena have begun to approach. Lexi's just got up and is mobile slowly west, so maybe wait where you are there. If you keep heading in that direction, that'll work well. Well, isn't this wonderful? These hyenas certainly are excited, and I think now it's picked up the scent, because look at how intensely it's holding its head up, sniffing the air. It can smell this leopard, and it's going to come right to where the leopard was lying, unless it's just seen it, I think. It's just seen the leopard, and now it's going to run up to it, and sadly the leopard now is going to run off. But once it has run off a short distance, it will probably try and get up a tree, and or the hyena will give up and realize that it doesn't have any meat. Well, I hope we're going to be able to find him again after he's run off. But such great visuals of these hyena in the meantime. And they're going to slip about now and see if they can't find any kill, which they aren't going to, because there's no kill here. So we'll leave them to it and try and replicate this method. Oh, wonderful. Here he is. So as I said, there was a strong chance he was going to pop up into a tree to escape the hyena, and rather than running off huge distances, he knows as soon as he's up a tree, he's completely safe. Just going to try and move forward a centimetre or two so we can enjoy this visual of him up in the tree. It doesn't look very comfortable up there, so I'm not sure how long this is going to last. Quite funny how he's leaning his head almost sleepily against that branch. That is now broken. And I can hear the hyena approaching, and that's what he's looking at. Very intently. There's the hyena, and it could well let off a snarl, which would be great for us, and hiss at the hyena in frustration. Is he going to? I just got a question through on Twitter from Mida asking whether that these are the hyena from the hyena den site, the mothers of the cubs. And it looks like they could be, but to be honest, I haven't had a close enough look just yet with all the action that's been going on, so I cannot confirm that, but it's certainly a possibility. Thanks, Lex. Well, Lex, as I said on the way here, was sitting at the hyena den site when he heard the impala alarm calling, and he gave us that update, and thankfully he did, because it was his knowledge of the impala alarm calling that led us to this leopard. And he noticed all the hyena from the den site left the den site and came to this area, so it certainly is the same hyena from the den. And how wonderful that that can be confirmed by somebody that was sitting at the den site as it all unfolded. It really does look like he's going to try and sleep standing up with his head rested against this branch. And maybe he's feeling sorry for himself after a long night out and a failed attempt at hunting this morning. But this is quite bizarre. I don't think I've ever seen a leopard sleeping whilst standing up in a tree. Who would have thought? It really is incredible how behavior of animals differs. Now, it was just a few nights ago that we saw this very same leopard lying just meters away from a hyena as the hyena fed on its kill that possibly this leopard did make. That can't be confirmed, but we could assume the leopard did kill the Inyala at Buffelshoek Dam a few days ago. Yet, a few days later, it sees not the same hyena, different hyena, and steers away from any potential danger. So just interesting to bear that in mind, and especially when answering questions out here, it can be very difficult to say what would happen in any given scenario, because it always depends on the specific incident. This doesn't look like it's going to be the most glamorous of descents. judging by his belly, it doesn't look like he's fed since he finished his kill at Buffalo's Hook Dam, which was 2 evenings ago, I believe, was the last time we saw him there. There he is.
Made him.
There he's going for another tree. They're in luck. The hyena have followed suit and are now at the base of the tree. Sadly, we're not in the best position as it stands, but he could move around, so I'm not going to reposition just yet. Barbara on Twitter is understanding that a leopard is the alpha animal out here, and sadly, Barbara, that is a misunderstanding. They are not the alpha animal in this ecosystem, and if any animal was to be, it would be lion. Lion are above leopard, and leopard are above cheetah. Between leopard and hyena, though, as I just said, it does depend on the individual scenario and situation that unfolds. But why would this young leopard take any risks? It's got no medical aid or health insurance, so any injury, big or small, could lead to death. It's got nothing to lose here other than pride by climbing up these trees. It doesn't have a kill that it's going to have to abandon. So there's no reason why it would want to have a confrontation unnecessarily with these hyena. There's also 3 of them and 1 of him. And hyena are very formidable animals, and a bite from a hyena could cause huge damage to this leopard. So that is why it is not taking any chances and rather avoiding confrontation at all costs. Just got a comment from Tina in Houston, and she's noticed a scar on the rump of, I think it's this hyena, and I think she actually just licked that scar now. And that is the mother of the larger cub at the den sites. And the female without the scars on her rump is the mother of the two smaller hyena cubs. Isn't this wonderful interaction that we're seeing here? And really quite phenomenal. Just got a question through from Bonnie in Pennsylvania, and Bonnie's interested to know whether I'm using my new lens. And yes, Bonnie, I am indeed, and it's a lovely piece of equipment that really is enjoyable to use, and I'm hoping it's going to take my photography to the next level. And it's a little treat I got myself, thanks to everyone that did contribute to the tip jar from the initial production here at Djuma that ended on the 31st of January. This is an extension of that project, and a huge thank you to all of you who did contribute to that, because without you I would not have this lens right now. So thank you very much. I'm surprised that these hyenas are still hanging around, because you would have assumed that they've established that there's no food and therefore no reason for them to hang around here. But maybe they feel like he's hiding something from them. No, this leopard appears like it's going to need to find a comfortable branch, but sadly this brown ivory tree that it's sitting in does not have many comfortable branches or horizontal branches. I've got a few questions coming through. Interested to know how long the hyena will hang around for. And it's a good question. Like I say, I don't know why they are hanging around, because you would have thought that they would have established that there's no meat in the area. But like I did just say, maybe they feel like he's hiding something from them. What a beautiful sight this is, and we've got lucky because he's now moved into the perfect spot for us, and he is performing accordingly. Sorry, go again with that, please. D. Hodgkins on Twitter is interested to know if he did come down from the tree now, would the hyena follow him? And I think the answer to that question is yes. I think they would follow him, just as they followed him from the last tree he came down to the tree that he's just come up. So I think they would follow him. And hyena are also known to follow leopard even without kills, in the knowing that there's a strong chance that the... Oh no, what's he trying to do? Is he stuck? Yeah, he's stuck. That is embarrassing. Sorry, buddy. Not your proudest moment.
Yeah, rough Friday night.
Exactly.
Saturday night.
Yeah, obviously it is the weekend and maybe he's been having more fun than he should have been last night. And now he's got himself into a spot of bother. He's trying to get comfortable so that he can sleep. And he's kind of sacrificed his right leg there as some kind of a wedge. But as I was saying, hyena will follow leopard in the knowing that eventually a leopard will make a kill, and if they are close enough behind it, then they'll be able to steal it immediately. That's not necessarily the case now, but I guess in the back of these hyenas' mind, they know there's more chance of coming across food if they stay with this leopard as opposed to leaving it. Well, shame, he really is tired, and we saw him in the previous tree that he was in, trying to kind of sleeping, standing up, with his head resting against a branch. Now he's made an attempt at trying to get comfortable, but it certainly doesn't look like he is. So it'll be interesting to see how long he manages to maintain this position for. No, not very long, it doesn't look like. Doug in the USA is interested to know if the hyena are watching this leopard very closely because it's close to their den sites, and I don't think that's the case. He's not close enough to be of any threat to those cubs. Probably about half a mile from here is the den site, so I don't think that is a contributing factor to the hyena's behavior, Doug. Oh, there we go. It's a work in progress, getting the right position here. Well, it appears he's got into a relatively comfortable position, and just to give you the full perspective of what exactly is going on here, we've got Quarantine, this young male leopard, sleeping in the tree, uncomfortably so, and just on the ground below it are some hyena, which are sleeping, looking a lot more comfortable than the leopard at the moment. And there were 3 hyena here earlier. I can only see 2 now. Not sure where the third could be. But now you've got an idea of what's going on. And for those of you who have joined more recently on the show this morning, we got an update from Lex, who's a guide driving some of his guests around this area as well, and he was at the hyena den site, which was active, and he was enjoying a sighting there when he started hearing impala alarm calling very intensely, and he put that update over the radio waves, and I was relatively close by, so decided to hurry along to get into that area to see what the impala were alarm calling at. And lo and behold, this is who we found. So I got very lucky, and it was thanks to Lex's update. And it is so important, the teamwork out here, in order to find animals. As soon as we did find Quarantine, he did chase after a few impala in desperation, but without the elements of surprise, he would have almost no chance of catching one. And a few moments later, the hyena arrived on the scene, and they are the same hyena from the hyena den site where we do spend time. Copy, sounds good.
There's the third hyena.
Behind us. Okay, so VM has just spotted the third hyena. It's a little bit further behind us and not sleeping, on the move. There's apparently a lot of questions coming through interested to know whether leopards ever fall out of trees when they're sleeping. And not that I've ever seen, and I find it highly unlikely that they would. They will, of course, however, especially when they're young, possibly take a tumble out of a tree or in a situation where they may be under attack from other leopards or even lion trying to climb the same tree that they're in. They may have to do an emergency exit jump, but I've never known of any leopards to make serious fools of themselves falling out of trees. One time when they will jump out of trees is when they find themselves lying up in a tree and a herd of impala or nyala or any prey item ends up coming below that tree through default, and the leopard therefore only has to spring directly down onto them to catch them. And there are a few clips of some incredible footage of leopards jumping directly out of trees down onto their prey. I saw one fairly recently where the leopard must have dropped about 8 meters down onto its prey, which is an incredibly high drop. Probably around 25 feet is my conversion. That could be off, but around 25 feet from the ground, this leopard jumped down onto an impala. So really incredible what they can do. Well, just to reiterate, I did mention a few moments ago that the hyena's den site is probably about half a mile away from where we are here as the crow flies. So the hyena are certainly not concerned that the leopard is too close to their den. And I think it's purely them hoping to get a free meal from this leopard. That is why they are hanging around. Looks like it's a bit of a standoff though, but the good news is Mark is going to be arriving at Buffalo's Hook Dam shortly, so hopefully he's going to find some action there. There's been some great action at that waterhole over the last few drives, so maybe it'll be worth catching up with Mark and seeing how his morning's been up till now, and we'll be sure to let Nikki and Final Control know if anything changes here.
Morning everybody, welcome to the far northeastern corner of Djuma, a little bit further away from where you have been enjoying some leopard and hyena activity with Scott. Hope you're all having a good weekend this weekend. A little bit chilly, a little bit cool, and a little bit of a low branch. Maybe I'll have to go around actually. Try and get the antenna around the outside of it. There we go. And I'm going to have a look at a body of water we call Buffalo's Hook Dam. Buffalo's Hook meaning Buffalo Corner. Buffalo Corner Dam. Where just recently we have a new addition to Buffalo's Hook Dam. Apart from the hippo and the visiting elephants and the occasional leopard, we have a 250 million year old reptile. Known as Crocodilius niloticus, the Nile crocodile. And while we are a little bit far from the Nile, or even the source of it for that matter, I guess they first saw crocodiles in the Nile and called them Nile crocodiles, even if it's the same crocodile that lives all the way down to South Africa. I was following the tracks of Mvula, the big male leopard, the father of the leopard you've all been watching. His tracks crossed south into the property so he's off the property. There was news that Karula came onto Djuma yesterday or the day before, although we have been pretty concentrated on other events that have been taking place. We've been up here at Buffalo's Hook Dam for a bit with the same young leopard, quarantine male, who was here with the Nyala kill and a tussle with hyena crocodiles. Well, the crocodile. Still not sure where this croc came from. I haven't seen any tracks in the riverbeds. And of course we're still not sure when this crocodile arrived here, because since we didn't know it was here, we didn't really look for it. Even though we would come to the dam, we never came to look up the long arm of the dam. And maybe we'll be lucky with elephants having a drink. Hippo and a heron. The heron looks like it's standing on water. It's even funnier if the hippo started moving, because then the heron would appear to levitate above the surface. Wonder why there are go-away birds calling. There's Ingwe on quarantine. Here's some birds alarming. Not sure why they would be. So far I'm not seeing. There he is. Straight ahead of us. Bred, and they are often fed, obviously, with carcasses of animals, and the bones are taken to specific places, what we call vulture restaurants. Many years ago, in the 1980s, I think it was, our vulture populations were suffering. The 70s and 80s, vulture populations were suffering terribly because farmers were not leaving carcasses lying around. If farmers had cattle, the carcasses were being destroyed, and vultures were finding it very difficult to find calcium, to find bone, to maintain the calcium levels needed to lay healthy eggs and to raise healthy chicks. And they were turning to a lot of waste, a lot of porcelain and plastic, anything that they could find that was white. And we had some population crashes, vulture, especially the Cape vulture, who was living on cliff faces. The young vultures, if they managed to emerge out of the eggs, because to a large extent the egg shells were not strong enough, that the vulture's bones wouldn't be strong enough, so when they tried to fly off of a cliff, had disastrous consequences. And so vulture restaurants were born, and these were areas where people would take the animal carcasses from deceased domestic stock and not only leave them in a specific place, but also crush up the bones to enhance the calcium levels, to boost calcium levels in the vulture populations. And it's worked tremendously well. In fact, there are still vulture restaurants all over that are supplying bone and carcasses for vultures and the like. Marabou storks are very, as I say, very opportunistic, become very accustomed to these particular sites, and they eventually just live around them. They don't fly away, they don't move away from them, they practically stay there permanently. I remember 20-30 years ago we used to see marabou storks a lot more often, flying over and at the dams. What's very interesting is when you drive through the streets of Nairobi, the main industrial area of Nairobi, there is a two-lane road with a middle island where all the street lamps are. And when you drive down that street in the busiest time of day, the trees, the flame trees and the poles, it's just covered in marabous. The marabous actually nest in the flame trees in the middle of the industrial area, in the middle of Nairobi. Whole bunch of go-away birds having a drink together. Katrina on asking a question. Morning, Katrina. Thanks for the tweet. What is the main prey of crocodiles? Well, growing up, I mean, crocodiles as youngsters at first eat things like frogs and insects and small fish. Okay, I'll try and finish this quickly. As large crocodiles, any mammals that they can get their teeth into, terrapins, fish, catfish. They're quite industrious in catching fish. I think we need to cross over to Scott. It sounds like there's been a bit of activity going on over there. So let's go back to Scott and we'll see what we can pick up with quarantine.
Welcome back. And the hyena have got up and moved off, and now he's just climbed higher up in the tree, I think, to make sure that they've moved off a fair distance. And then in all likelihood he is going to come down this tree where he, until very recently, has been continuing to lie in an awkward and uncomfortable position. So I think he's going to be very happy to see the end of these hyena and very shortly come down this tree. And I do think we are in a good position, judging by the way the trunk of this tree is shaped, that we're going to see a great view of him coming down this tree. And it appears he's kind of semi-seated in that position. You'll notice he's kind of perched on a branch. So he's being spoilt with some really interesting positions from this leopard this morning. And you may hear the soft drumming of a woodpecker in a dead tree nearby. And there's two different types of woodpecker that will drum on hollow cavities to communicate, one being the bearded woodpecker, which tends to drum quite loudly, and the other is the golden-tailed woodpecker, which tends to drum more gently or softly, and this appears to be a softer, more gentle drum, so it could well be a golden-tailed woodpecker. I can't see it from where we are, but I can see the dead tree that it is probably drumming in, and they'll do that to communicate with other woodpeckers in the area. They will of course also peck into trees in order to get to their food, insects hiding in small cavities within the tree, but they will also drum against branches simply to communicate. Now he surprised me. I thought he would have come down this tree almost immediately after those hyena have moved off, but maybe he can see them and maybe they're not too far away. But I would have thought he would have come straight down this tree, as it hasn't provided him with much comfort since he's been here.
Yeah, we can hear you. Are you at the turn off to the hyena again? Yeah, just come in around there, but just if you switch off, I'll just start that, you'll hear it.
So just to keep you updated on what's going on here, there's a third vehicle that's coming to join us, but because we've come quite far off the road and are now in a thick block, it's difficult to describe exactly where we are. So Lex just started up his vehicle while the other vehicle was in the close enough proximity to hear our vehicle audio, and that way he now can drive into the sighting. So it's just one of the techniques used to help guide people into sightings that are off the beaten track. Well, here he comes. This was the moment we've been hoping for. Which way is he going to come down? Is he going to go on the other side of the tree? It looks like it. So my predictions were wrong. I thought we were on a decent side here. Not the most glamorous of descents, and it looks like he's using a smaller bush to help him. Oh no, he made a mess of that. Well, this is wonderful prospects for us, because now we get to follow him wherever he moves to, and there's nothing better than following these predators on the move. Okay, so I've still got an idea of where he is, which is great. We've just spotted a buffalo to our left. And there's more than one buffalo, there's a few buffalo here. So that's his next obstacle to dodge after the hyena. I'm sure he'll have no problem evading these buffalo. Just going to try and get into a spot where you'll be able to hear the oxpeckers taking off of the buffalo. One or two of them have got up, and now the one buffalo has seen him. So we'll see what happens here. The buffalo aren't too far away, and I'm fairly certain one did see him. But he's just diverted his path accordingly. And so shall we as we follow it. Well, certainly finding ourselves a lot of holes to fall into. There's a bird's nest in this tree, so I'm going to drive around. It's probably not active at the moment. I won't take any chances. Sorry, Mr. Buffaloes. What a great way to be spending a morning following this young male leopard, and I keep saying it, but we really are being spoiled with some incredible sightings. It is tough going trying to negotiate through this vegetation and keep an eye on the leopard. But what I'm trying to do is take the path of least resistance, and eventually we will get a great shot of him. But it does require me to sometimes lose track of the animal, but loop ahead of where he's going. Okay, this looks like it's worked out quite well. And we should be able to get a shot of them coming straight towards us. Still quite thick, but I'm sure VM will be able to make a plan with his handiwork on the camera. Beautiful. There's a very small termite mound here that I'm hoping he's going to sneak up, and it's just in the foreground now. Absolutely beautiful. And he has snuck up this termite mound, but sadly just behind a bush. Still making for some great views of this animal though. And I'm sure now he's going to continue down past the vehicle. But let's wait and see. Really got attacked by a tree there. Now what I'm going to try and do is, I know there's a road, well I think there's a road not too far from here. I want to try and get onto that before he does. And that way hopefully be able to follow him if he does stay walking down the road. Yeah, it looks like he's heading towards Treehouse Dam, and here's the road I was hoping to find. And here he comes. He's not heading in the direction I thought he would, but Has he seen something? No? Oh, apologies, he is heading straight down to the dam. We had... Actually, we weren't exactly where I thought I was, and I thought the dam was further in the direction I was initially heading in. He's having a small toilet break. Morning, right? How are you doing? Morning, folks. How are you doing? How's it fall? Sorry? Oh, okay, thanks. Thanks very much. Well, I think we're going to be able to see this leopard taking a drink, which would be wonderful. It appears to be potentially chasing something. I just saw it slink off into the vegetation here. I'm not sure what it was interested in. Anyway, we're going to get ourselves into the right spot to watch him drink, which is just going to require us to link ahead quickly of where he's going. Hold on there, Liam. Well, interestingly enough, there's a hardy-dar ibis, which is a bird of a fairly decent size that's feeding on the water's edge here. Now, if this hardy-dar ibis is not careful, the leopard is going to try and catch it. So I'm not sure if the leopard's seen it yet, but it will see it at some stage, and there's actually some fairly decent cover that the leopard could use if it wanted to stalk up to this bird. Anyway, we'll watch the space, but there is a potential kill here, or potential hunt rather, that we could witness unfold. Leopard smelling very intently on this tree, and who knows, maybe there was another leopard sleeping up in that tree, maybe his brother or his mother. And his brother, Djuma, does like spending time at this dam, and have found him on numerous occasions lying up almost exactly where I'm parked at the moment. What is he thinking about, and why is he looking out to the west in that direction. I'm not too sure. There's nothing that I can see out there. But their senses are far greater than ours. Maybe he's heard something or smelt something. I really think this hardy-dar is going to be in trouble if this leopard sees it. Just got a question through from Claire in New York, and she's interested to know how the eyesight of a leopard compares to that of a human's. Now, animals that have got good nighttime vision often lack color vision, so they will probably see in a more black and white tone compared to the color that we see in, but what that allows them is to have great nocturnal vision. So their eyesight at night is incredible and probably almost just like daylight for them in pitch darkness, and that is the trade-off that they sacrifice for not having color vision but having good nocturnal vision. In terms of the power of their eyesight, in terms of being able to see distance, I'm not sure how different it is to ours, but it could certainly be better than ours, as you find a lot of wild animals have got far greater bodily functions than we do. It's just our brain that's got us to where we are as humans, and our senses and strength has been traded off. Well, it's a very good position for him to be, waiting at this dam. There's not much water around at the moment, and therefore any animals wanting to take a drink will be forced to come to these few water holes that we have on the property, and that would make for great potential ambushing opportunities for him. He can just lie here and wait for animals to come. If you don't mind just zooming into the hardy-dar for a moment. And it's actually quite interesting to watch it feeding. It's got a very long bill that it probes into the earth looking for crickets and other small animals that live underground. Worms would also be on the menu, certainly. And we've actually noticed this hardy-dar, not necessarily this exact one, but I'm guessing it could be feeding in the same area, and that's because the soil is nice and soft and also moist, so probably home to a few tasty treats, whereas the soil on the other parts of the property or not surrounding a dam would be quite hard and very difficult for the hardy-dar to penetrate with its bill.
Quarantine is moving, or he's lying?
No, he's gone to sleep. Yeah. So quarantine has laid down where he is, and we're going to stay where we are here, because I think he will get up at some stage and come closer down to the dam, and I'm hoping if and when that does happen, he sees the hardy-dar and tries to stalk it, and if that does happen, we're in the perfect position here. So we're just going to stand by and watch this hardy-dar doing its hunting, and this could become a classic example of the hunter becoming the hunted. It is so focused on its feeding, and with its head down very close to the ground, it would be a perfect opportunity for the leopard to stalk up to it, because it's very preoccupied. Now, I've been calling this bird just a hardy-dar. Its full name is a hardy-dar ibis. So it's part of the ibis family. Negative, not copying him at all. Copy, perfect. Copy, thank you. Just got a question through from Trent in Fiji. Good morning, Trent, and welcome along. Trent is interested to know if it's common hunting tactics to stake out waterholes during dry periods of time. And it certainly is, Trent. Whether it's through default or through clever planning, I'm not entirely sure, because leopards and lions and other predators will also naturally need to drink, and that would attract them to a waterhole. So it could simply be that while they come to a waterhole in order to drink, they find themselves waiting in the right place or relaxing in the right place where game could come to drink and therefore be easily ambushed. But I think a lot will depend on the individual bird, individual predator rather, as just like humans, animals have got their own behavioral traits and weaknesses. Liam's just focused on a terrapin looking for breakfast. You can just see its tiny little head poking out. Its shell isn't protruding and it's a little bit heavy, and that's why we can't see it protruding above the surface at the moment. And typically that's all we see. Oh, there's another terrapin. So they're essentially freshwater turtles. Could be one way of describing a terrapin. Here comes Quarantine, and I think he's seen those hardy-dar. He has. Great. So he's just got up in a flash, and he's actually got some incredibly great cover there from which he could stalk them. Let's see what he decides to do, though. He was lying down and looking down in this direction, and there's a second hardy-dar ibis that has appeared on the scene. So now there's two of them feeding together, and here he goes. This is going to be good, and there is a really good chance he might get one. So now VM's giving you an idea of where the hardy-dar are, and he's on the move now. I'm just going to reposition ever so slightly and try and get us into the best possible position for in case he does get one. Or is he going to charge in stupidly and blow it? He hasn't taken the best route at all. No, they've seen him. He is a young and silly leopard that has blown a good hunting opportunity there. He had so much cover that he could have used that he has not. So that's a pity. But we are going to have a great view of him drinking now, that's for certain. So that's the Hardy-Dow's alarm call that you can hear going off. And what a great view this is. We are directly across from him and couldn't ask to be in a better position. He had so much cover that he could have used to stalk up to them. So, somewhat frustrating that he didn't plan his hunt a little bit more effectively this morning. What a beautiful sight with his reflection in the water. This is too good. Now the blacksmith club is getting involved in the abuse.
Line.
Yeah, it looks like he is heading into that riverbed that flows out of this dam. What has he seen back there? Well, that was a beautiful sight and some interesting stuff, and it just goes to show that he does have a lot to learn with regards to hunting. He had so much cover that he could have used there, but he rather foolishly just ran straight at them, not trying to get any cover to hide behind. Excuse me. Oh well. And as you can also see, Trent from Fiji, he hasn't decided to stake this out, and it's more through default that he's ended up here. Appears that he's licking and rolling in some buffalo dung, and they are known to do that. I suppose it's a source of minerals, and it also will, I guess, cover their scent to a small degree. And isn't this cute seeing him rolling around? I'm not sure if it is buffalo dung. It is usually buffalo dung that they do lick and roll in, but in this case it might be elephant that he's chosen. Okay, good morning, sir. Now the reason why I came round onto this side of him is because I was hoping he was going to continue to walk down this road, which he is, and that way we are now going to have some frontal views of him. as he comes towards us. What on earth had he seen there? Or was he just running for joy? I think he was just running for joy. And I was looking back, reversing, but I've no doubt that Djuma did a great job capturing that awesome action. And there's this new vehicle that's just joined the sighting, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow them to follow him for a while, and as soon as I get an opportunity to pull over, I will. Oh, just having a small toilet break, and then I'll allow this vehicle that's just arrived in the sighting to spend some time and get some great views of him, because we've already had some incredible views so far this morning. But isn't this a wonderful way to be able to follow these animals and see the interesting interactions that go on along the way? Morning, everyone. How are you doing? Yeah, we're very lucky. Cool. And I'm not sure if you heard that lady, but she was just so happy to not only be seeing this leopard, but to be able to see it on the move. It really does make such a difference. They spend so many hours a day sleeping that for us to have this animal on the move is incredibly lucky. To run down into this riverbed again quite playfully, and it could simply be that he's young and playful, or it could have been something small that he was chasing. Time will tell. And here he comes back out towards the road, so who knows what it is that he saw. Maybe it was a squirrel. Now it'll be very interesting to see how far he moves now before he does lie down again, or who knows what he might come across. He may come across some more hunting opportunities in the next few moments. But the main thing that we should be happy about is that he is on the move. And now we get to see him doing what very few people get to see leopard do. They're usually such shy and secretive animals that it's only in very certain areas where you get to see them so relaxed with vehicles and carrying on with their daily business with very little concern of our presence at all. Now you can see he's sniffing those dead leaves very intently. There's a strong likelihood that another leopard would have scent marked against those leaves, and he's now processing that information. You'll notice he didn't scent mark on top of that or want to compete in any way, but he did want to process that information. Their body language is really wonderful to watch, and it appears like he's certainly very intent, and who knows, maybe he will get lucky this morning. It looks like there is something. He is showing interest in something again now, but what it is exactly, I'm not sure yet. Well, this lilac-breasted roller, it was a hornbill in the grass, and there's a lilac-breasted roller just up to the left Oh, chasing something else now. That was this, oh no, that's long gone, it was a diker. But you do see how the odds are stacked heavily against this poor animal. Even the lilac-breasted roller was letting off its alarm, which you can still hear it doing. There was a small antelope, I think it was a diker, that ran off, and now everyone's shouting. Squirrels, the lilac-breasted roller, you name it, they're all blowing his cover. Again, I've just looped ahead so that we can approach him front on, and that will hopefully reverse and get frontal shots of him as he comes towards us, which he's about to do. You got him there. He's just paced a few meters past our vehicle, and what a sight that was. We'll now let the other vehicle take a chance to follow him. And we'll hang back and see what happens a little bit later. It was really great to see there how there are so many different animals that will alarm at a leopard, and even before he's even close to any potential antelope, they could be warned by the squirrels or the lilac-breasted rollers of his presence. So it is an example of how difficult it can be. And that, coupled with his inexperience that you saw, how he just ran up to those hardy-dars, and in that situation he had a perfect opportunity. There was nothing alarm calling, he had good cover to use, so it's interesting to see that his lack of experience, coupled with the fact that it is so difficult to catch prey out here, can mean he'll go for days without eating. Go again there, please, Nix. Copy, thanks. be interesting to see where he heads to from now. He's aiming in the general direction of Twin Dams, but still probably a mile away from there as the crow flies, and the dam is further down to our right, so we'd have to veer more to the south in order to get there. And it looks like Abel's just made some space for us, so now we will be back in front again. Now, a lot of you may be wondering, when we are following animals like leopard and lion, are we interfering with their hunting and chasing away potential prey? And yes, obviously sometimes we may chase off an antelope, especially if we are driving through thicker vegetation, but in the same breath we could potentially chase an antelope towards him. It's completely unintentional, and as many times as we chase prey away, we could actually aid in the animal's hunting. The bottom line is, if this animal did not want us to find it and follow it, and it did feel that we impacted negatively on its life, it wouldn't allow us to find it. They can survive in and amongst humans without humans knowing them being there, because they are so shy and elusive when they want to be. This area has been a photographic safari destination for over 50 years now, where people have been coming here and viewing leopards just as we are now for many, many decades, and that has allowed the leopards to become relaxed with the vehicles, and they allow us into their lives. And it's quite simple. If they didn't want us to see them, or they felt that we were impacting negatively on their hunting, they wouldn't let us find them. So I think that's the main fact to the story, is that of course there's going to be some minimal impact of us driving around, but it's unintentional. And how else are we going to be able to follow and view these animals and show them to people all around the world, including yourselves, unless we follow them?
It's like the fifth time it's arced like that.
Yeah, it's an interesting marking. It's not a regular scent mark that a leopard will perform, but he does appear to be scent marking. So that's a very good point made by VM, and I was about to touch on that. He does keep doing these kind of miniature scent marks, but they're not the full-blown regular scent mark that you see adult leopards doing. Is he going to head down into the riverbed here? Yes, he is. Which is not a problem, because I know of a little shortcut that is going to take us down into the riverbed. So okay, hold on. We're going to have to use this time wisely to get into the right position. This is the part where I was hoping to find. Oh. I'm hoping he's going to continue. We're going to come around one of these corners and he's going to be walking down the riverbed straight towards us. No, not today, not this time. Where will he be? Mark directly, oh, you hit it down into the riverbed, just below Elephant Skull. You're more than welcome to come and join. I'm not sure if Abel's still here. I've just got visual of him. He's lying up on that eroded bank, and we're just down on the riverbed below him. Okay, copy. Well spotted, VM, and it appears we did end up in the right spot, and it's always lovely being below these animals when filming them, or at least eye level with them. The camera's mounted probably 1.5 meters off or above the ground, so often it's shooting down on the animals, and it's always a great angle to have shooting up on them. Now, a lot of you may be wondering why I drove so quickly through that little section of vegetation on that little track to get us into this position, and it's because if you look around this area that we're in, if he was to cross over the riverbed and not stay in it, and we didn't see where he moved to, there's no ways we'd be able to continue viewing him. So as VM now pans around, you'll get an idea of exactly how thick it is here. Has he seen something? He seems to be intently focusing on something, but we'll keep an eye on him, and as VM pans around, you'll see why. I just wanted to make sure that the leopard did not shake us off its trail. I know how difficult it can be to find these animals, so when we've got one, we've got to make the most of it, because there have been periods where we can go for a week without seeing a leopard. So by staying in touch with them and understanding where they move, it certainly helps in finding them again. Well, I don't think too much is going to change here for the next few minutes. We'll give it a moment or two, and then maybe we can cut across to Mark and catch up with him and get an update of what he's been up to with Romeo for the last while. And we'll be sure to stay with this leopard, and if there's any action, we'll let Nicky know, and we'll come back over here.
Morning again all. Sounds like you've had some amazing time with Quarantine Mail this morning, following him as you have. And Jason and I have been driving around and refreshing our tree knowledge. Looking at trees mostly and trying to find some succulents. We haven't really seen much. We've good few birds. We've seen a few raptors this morning. Because of the weather, there are a lot of raptors around. They are not flying because with really cool air, it's a lot of energy for them to stay up, to stay aloft. So a number of raptors that we've seen have been perched in trees. We've seen an adult and separately a juvenile harrier hawk. Known as Djuma. We've seen a couple of Battalier snake eagles. I believe you saw some African hawk eagles with Scott earlier as well. We had a convention of go-away birds. But you were with us when we were watching the crocodile for a bit. But it was all quiet. You know, a cool day like today, and it is rather cooler temperatures, does keep a lot of the animals hidden. We did see, had a brief visual of a young male kudu running into the bush. We see one or two common duiker. less squirrel. There's been one or two squirrels too. Nikki's saying that someone did ask why they called a go-away bird. It's only really for English-speaking people that they call a go-away bird because they have an alarm call. And they have various different alarm calls, and it depends on the intensity of the call. But when they really are alarmed, their call sounds like they're saying, "Go away, go away, go away." That's my best impression of a go-away bird alarm call.
Yeah.
We're coming back onto Central Road. We're going to go and see what's happening at Gowrie Dam. Yes, magnetic monkey is traveling again. I've covered pretty much the entire eastern seaboard of this pea green sea that we have. Actually, it's turning yellow. Sea of green is slowly getting brown. We were up on Cheetah Cutline and we did a little bit of Drakensberg Drive. We did Nyala Roads, and it's been a wonderful morning. Of course, not as great as the rest of you, and Scott, having spent time with the leopard and a whole bunch of things. I've heard a lot of the questions that are coming through, and I think a lot of the questions have actually been answered. There was a question how long the hyenas would stay there. Well, they didn't stay very long. All sorts of questions that have, just by spending time with the leopard, you get to answer your own questions sometimes. I find amazing. Excuse me giggling. This is reacting to voices in my ear. How's Jason's tree knowledge? Question from Nikki in Final Control. Impressive, Nikki. Very impressive. Jay knows his trees. Oh yes, fresh ellie done, but been driven over by somebody. Looks like they headed down Gowrie Cutline maybe. Maybe we should take a look past the big Jackleberry. I need an ellie fix for the Sunday. Another thing. 2 things about Sunday. What did you do, Romeo?
Just impressive generally. Just in general, well done.
Yes, you are. What was I saying today? 2 important things about today. Apart from it being a Sunday, a cloudy Sunday. So it's just a cloudy day. It's not Sunday. It's a cloudy day. But being the day of the week that it is, fireside chat tonight, if the weather holds. Otherwise it turns into a front seat chat under a tarpaulin for a bit. Fireside chat. But the other important thing about tonight, just after our fireside chat, we're going to Earth Hour. That magnificent jackleberry that Jason's showing you now. Excuse me, Dove. Tonight is Earth Hour. I think it's tonight. What's the date today?
Do not know. 29.
20 something of March. At least I know it's March. Let's see, I'm going to try and get an answer out of my bag. Oh, oops. Yesterday was Earth Hour. Oh, somebody help me. Please tell me we didn't miss Earth Hour. I thought it was the 28th today. I think Earth Hour is the 28th. Does that mean I've got to wait a whole year for Earth Hour again? But my whole year, I live Earth. I don't have electricity, so I switch. I don't have lights to switch off, so I'm permanently Earth year. And we were sitting in the dark anyway last night when we were eating. We were all sitting outside just with the light of a waka waka. No sign of Ellies. Maybe it was just a couple of tracks that looked like they were going north. Maybe they headed towards Gowrie Dam. So maybe we ought to just throw a Yui. Do a Yui. Anybody else in the parts of the world call it a Yui? Maybe in Australia they call it a Yui. Like a Barbie. Somebody's saying April 22nd is Earth Day, so I can celebrate that. Although I celebrate Earth Day every day. While I'm barefoot, I celebrate life on Earth and live in its energy. Some people saying 28th, some people saying 29th. What is a boma? Here's my elephant that I'm looking for, or one of them. What is a boma? A boma is an enclosure. A boma is, this is a little boy, maybe there is a herd around here somewhere and he's following the herd. There's a herd, there's a little youngster. My day is complete. I can breathe, I can sigh, a sigh of relief. I have an elephant. Hello little boy, where's your mother? So I can ask her permission to be here. You're going to frame yourself in front amongst all the dead wood. What was I saying before I was interrupted by an elephant?
Earth Foot Band celebrate.
Earth Day and that.
Mm.
Wonder what he just ate. That little thing with a compound leaf that he was eating. Oh, what is a boma? Thank you, Nikki. A boma is an enclosure. It is traditionally, I suppose, a ring of thorn branches to corral cattle at night to protect them from
Angry animals.
predators. That's the angry. Sorry, my brain is in different gears because they're elephants. I've also heard that it is an abbreviation from British Warfare in Africa, and it stands for British Officers Mess Area, BOMA. I don't know how true that is. It might just be coincidence. I don't know the origins of the word. We might call it etymology. The word boma. Oops. Let's go around onto the road again. I think we're troubling these little lilies. Anyways, nowadays a boma is considered, traditionally a boma is this area that lodges build where they have a central fire and often tables set around the fire and either a reed wall or some sort of enclosure that creates a really nice atmosphere. There's a mama elephant. Two big mama elephants. Or is that a bull with the mama elephant? He thinks. It's a big bull. Trunk over tusk. Two bulls having a spar. Wow. I thought it was a mama because there was a little one running towards them. Didn't even stop to look at what it could have been. But actually it's two bulls having a little tussle. A friendly sparring match. Yeah, sort of, it's in your hands. Don't stop on my account, boys. Now that you're out in the open, have a game. Oh, this is quite amazing. Two slow giants wandering through the bushveld. Another young bull. There's a large group of ellies here. Why didn't we come this way earlier? Lots of elephant off the bush. Morning, boys. Oh, there's another bull, much younger bull. Morning, boys. Well, unfortunately time is up and it's time to say good night and goodbye and love you lots and all of that, and hopefully we can spend some time with them a little bit later. Nice group of ellies. I'm thinking that it might be a bachelor herd, but there was a youngster here that was a little bit younger, or maybe a little bit too young to be part of this bachelor group. And I'm seeing another one, 6 ellies further in, beyond this little one-tusked boy that we can see now. Oh, come on, boys, have a tussle just here in front of us. This bigger bull is clearly the larger, trying to intimidate the younger. Anyways, well, it is that time of day, so we'll see you at 4 o'clock this afternoon, Central African time. Goodbye from Scott and Wiem. They are with quarantine. He's lying up where you left him, and Scott might stay there a little while, but for us, we're going to be heading back to camp. We need to go and switch equipment off because it's cloudy, and we want to keep power for this evening. So we will see you a little bit later. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Love you lots.